everyone. We want to welcome you today to the We Are Flora Pearl podcast. I am your host, Latasha J. Humphrey. In a moment, we will jump into this dynamic podcast. But before we get started, we want to let our audience know that this podcast is being brought to you by the Flora Pearl Foundation, where our vision is bridging the gap, building a legacy. Our mission is that we are a 501c3, community-focused nonprofit mentoring organization, building healthy relationships and partnerships between women and girls through education, community service, networking, unification, and career planning. Our inspiration is Flora Pearl Humphrey. She is my paternal grandmother, and what she taught me and my family was about faith, family, and community. And that is where I draw my inspiration from. Now, audience, I have the pleasure to introduce to you someone who is very special to my heart. We have experienced some powerful, life-changing moments together. She is an official member of my family tribe. She has always had a strong love for family, and she loves with her heart. She is a strong education advocate, and she loves making a difference in the lives of others. She is a woman of value, a force to be reckoned with, and a special blessing to this universe. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you one of my blood sisters, Mashanda Scott. Hi, Shani. How are you?
I'm fine. And yourself?
Excellent. It's such an honor to have you with us. And if you would just briefly go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, you did such a fantastic job. I'm almost in tears now, but my name is Mashanda Scott. Like you said, I am currently a third grade teacher. I teach in the urban school setting. It's really like the true passion of mine. So I'm right now just testing the waters with exploring the possibility of becoming nationally certified and really just advocating for my students in the platform of educational policy studies. So that's what I do. I'm a mother of two beautiful little girls. I'm a wife and a church mentor.
Okay, perfect. Well, we want to definitely go ahead and jump right into the podcast. And our first topic is, remembering Flora Pearl. And we do have a video with the organization where you were one of our family members who shared about, Flora Pearl. And we wanted you to share with this particular audience. You can share that moment that you share, or you can share another one. But just that Flora Pearl moment.
Well, recently we were talking about... I was talking about it with some girlfriends about how, it's the summer break and I'm from Chicago. So our biggest thing is when the kids are out for the summer, what are they going to do? Are they going to come back to us? That's just a prayer that we have with the students on the last day of school, just praying for their safety, praying for their return, praying that they will, enjoy the summertime, because a lot of students, when the summertime hit, it's like they do a whole 360 and we're like, what's the problem? How are they, how did this happen? They just completely changed, and we realized that, the school had become their home away from home. So the fact that they won't be seeing us for a couple of months, it's kind of nerve-wracking to the children, and it made me think about my grandmother, because for the summertime, it was like, it's grandma's house. And
right.
I remember all of us. I remember from all the kids on the block, on other blocks within our community, within the community. I remember how they used to always, they put us in summer vacation Bible school. So I was just talking about that because I was praying for my kids to come back to me. For the new school year, and I was just thinking about all the awesome things that Grandma made sure that we participated in, although we were out on summer break. So we went through Vacation Bible School. They had busloads of us going to different churches for their Vacation Bible School. We were able to go to Great America and different things like that. And it was just like a community, a sense of community. And our grandparents kind of like advocated for us to not just be on the street, or it wasn't really on the street because sitting on the porch wasn't on the street, but just advocated for us to get out of our community, get out of our comfort zone, explore, and the best way to explore in her mind was for us to be in church. And I really do value that. I appreciate that me being able to share that story with my students and get them interested in, hey, well, let's look into Bible school. Let's look into possibly going into the church to do a summer camp of some nature. So that would be one Flora for a moment I will never forget. I always kind of like refer back to it when we're talking about rebuilding our community, and I'm just kind of like grateful that my grandmother and everyone in the neighborhood took the initiative to expose us to that.
Perfect. No, that's beautiful. That definitely is beautiful. And we're going to kind of move into a segment. It's called Culture Vibes. And basically it takes, some different information, whether it's from social media or something within pop culture. But most recently, it was actually a video by Erica Campbell. She's one half of the gospel group Mary Mary. And she has her own show. I think it's called Get Up in the Morning. But the topic, it was about be the best you. And I'm paraphrasing what she was talking about, but she was saying that, comparison. She talked about the word comparison and how it will kill you. And basically it insults, God when you try to be someone else instead of being yourself. And so she was like, we just need to rest and relax in who we are and celebrate who we are and who God has called us to be with those different skills and talents. And I wanted to know your thoughts because I know you do deal with young people all the time. But what is your thought as it relates to comparison? And how do you, in whatever ways, how do you speak with the young people about that and how to teach them how to be themselves and be unique?
Well, I do. I'm a mentor of Young Sisters for Christ. It's a ministry-based mentorship from girls ranging from ages 4 to 18.
Okay.
And we are like the partnership of Girl Scouts.
Awesome.
Just recently, in light of the idea of comparison, we did like the look yourself in the mirror and pull out some attributes. And for the life of me, I could not understand why the girls had a hard time really looking themselves in the mirror and pulling out attributes about themselves. So that took us back as far as the ministry, the women that I worked with, and we were just puzzled about that. But what I did realize was that it's always hard to talk about yourself in a positive light because we are worst critics. But it's also good to be able to acknowledge your strengths as well as your weaknesses in order to help highlight those attributes. So we took the girls through a series of different spectacles or obstacles they may face, and we kind of like pulled out their strengths.
Okay.
And they were able to motivate one another to the point where it's like when we had like a note box. It was a note card box where they were able to each identify a positive characteristic that they liked from one another. And I personally know how that really did affect some of the girls because my daughter is a part of that ministry as well. And just on moments where she was down from school, may have been bullied or may have just felt like she just wasn't enough, her having that opportunity to go back to her little note box and pull out her friends' comments really helped motivate her, lift her spirits up a lot. So I do believe that, when we focus our attention on what the media wants us to be and not really look at who we are it will become a comparison. Well, I'm not small enough. I'm not light enough. My hair isn't straight enough, or it's not long enough. It's short. Like, we really limit ourselves, and because that becomes our overall focus of how to be like what we see versus just being yourself.
Right.
So, as far as that is concerned, I kind of understand where she was coming from, but I am a big advocate of loving yourself. You have to love yourself in order for you to love others. And just really seeing those girls go through that experience. And confident, I feel like it's a confident booster. And I also feel like it's a way to look at yourself, how other people might view you. So when my daughter opened up those note cards, it was just like hearing those things that she knows, but she doesn't hear on a regular basis. And, you know, when we leave our kids and they go to school, they deal with so much, but just knowing that the things that her friends, that her sisters said to her, really impacted her and really made her feel like it wasn't her. Maybe it's just them. So I tell her all the time, you know, anytime you get to a moment where the girls at school, like they don't like you, you know, you just think about how God loves you, you know, and you use that. You know, he never makes a mistake when he created us. So, just really loving who you are is a very big deal, and not paying attention to what the media or the newspapers or the magazines might portray others to be, to try to live up to those expectations. So, yeah, that's like my 2 cents on that whole comparison.
Right. And I wanted to kind of segue into the topic of family, and it kind of is, and basically, it's, you know, and earlier I mentioned about how, you know, Grandma Flora Pearl, like, she taught us a lot about faith, family, and community, and I wanted to know, you know, part of it, why is family so important, but also, like you were talking about, even with the girls and how you are teaching them certain things, how did the family help shape you, as far as your upbringing, help shape you as a woman?
Well, I sometimes feel like my family is always right. At times. Only at times.
Okay.
That they're always right. And I feel like that's like the best sound advice you can get.
Okay.
From someone versus outside friends, or friends that over the course of time have become family. Like, it's like you want to put them in a category as family, because it's like they give you the same thing that your family gives you. So it's like, okay, you're not friends anymore, you're more like a sister to me. But like, family really means a lot to me. Whether it's a connection that I feel when some of my family members are deceased, so when we come together, it's just like I get the vibe of them being there again, because they were the ones who put me in that position in the first place. But I ultimately, I care what my family thinks. I care about leaving a legacy that my family instilled in me, like our morals and values and the different things that we cherish. That's what like molds me into who I am today. So right. I believe family is definitely important. Without family, you can't go this way, if for lack of a better word. But I do believe like family is truly important.
Okay. We want to kind of, even on the heels of, you know, as it relates to kind of your core family, we're going to segue into, you know, marriage, because then I know, you know, it's a different it's like an extension of like your core, but then that person becomes one with you. And so we know back in 2010, you got married, and you have been married now for almost 7 years. And I believe that you definitely can give some insight on the institution of marriage. And so the first question I wanted to ask you is, how did you know that your husband was the one?
I didn't at first.
Okay. That's real.
We have been together since sophomore year in high school.
Okay.
More like going into junior year in high school. And once I got ready to go to college and graduate from high school, we kind of like separated at that time.
Okay.
I just felt like, okay, well, maybe I don't want to push it. Maybe I have other things that I need to do instead of focusing on a relationship. So it was just, at that time, we kind of like called it quits. But coming back home, but I went a break that year after graduation. We kind of like reconnected through a mutual friend. And when I realized that my level of where I was at spiritually, I was not looking for like, just like this my boyfriend and, what you do with your boyfriend type of thing. I was more so into like just growing in Christ at that time. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened he was a junior deacon. We would have conversations about the word that was presented to us on Sundays, to the point where our conversations kind of like turned into arguments. But those arguments we would have in front of my father, and it was really relieving to know that, okay, I'm thinking the man crazy, but then my father is like, no, he might be looking at it from this standpoint, and he really became our balance. So as we were growing spiritually, I believe he became the one, because I knew that I needed to have someone who was like Christ, and who loved him as well, that could possibly love me like Christ would love the church. So I knew that, okay, him being a junior deacon kind of like was icing on the cake for me. And just seeing how he was like motivated, I'm miles away, we're on the phone. He was in Bible study. He would go to different events throughout the week at his particular church. And I think that's what kind of like got me like, okay, we already was together in high school. Then I come back home. Now I'm on this spiritual trip, and you are too. So I think that's where I knew, like, when he was like, he proposed and said that, he gave me like a friendship ring, and it was like, we're going to be together forever. We thought at that time he was saying like, fate brought us back together, like this is it. And he kind of like sold me that dream and I truly believe that this was it. This is all I have to deal with. Despite the ups and downs that we may have faced, like I think that we've always been connected spiritually. And that's what I think, if you want to say, how did I know he was the one, that's how.
Right. And do you believe that, definitely in this day and time, sometimes, unfortunately, divorce is kind of a common option even before getting married. It's almost like, I know definitely even with the prenups and stuff like that, people are looking to, if this doesn't work out, then this is my option B, this or plan B. I know your faith definitely has been a driving force, but what are some of the keys that you feel like is why you all are so solid? I know it starts with your faith, and then what else are you all doing to make it solid?
Well, we were like on that brink, and I think that because we started this really early on, we've been together since high school, on and off, and then when we did get back together, like we really stayed the course. And I think that communication is a very big factor. because what we realize is that if we don't communicate with one another, and you might feel like, oh, she's busy, I don't want to bring this to her attention, or, he might not be. I'm a teacher. He's a truck driver. So when I come home from school, it's like I want to sometimes unwind and maybe rehash some things that happened at school, and just not feeling like he can give me sound advice because he's not in that field. Like that type of communication, just being able to know, hey, let me just listen. And I've always told them, like, please tell me stuff positive. Don't tell me anything negative because you just don't know. I'm already thinking negative anyway. So when I come to him, I'm like, I need that assurance, that positive reassurance, that what I'm thinking, and in his mind, I'm always right anyways.
Wow.
But I would say that our communication has really improved throughout the years. And I will also say that hanging around other married couples help ground us as well. Like I said, recently we were on the brink of separation, not divorce, but just a separation, just a moment. So maybe at that time we were feeling like, we've been together for so long, like not that it's somebody else, but maybe we just need space and give us some time. And then the Lord chopped that up and like pushed us to another married couple at our church who was like a counselor for us for a couple of months. And we've been undergoing like different sessions, but it's been with other married couples. And what I realized is that, they say when two or three are gathered in his name, he is in the midst. Well, they prayed over us. And like now everybody, like they kind of like help shape our prayer for one another in a sense. And I believe that really has helped us tremendously because we don't see marriage as looked at being, as like marriage is supposed to be like perfect and it's like all glorified, and then once you go through it, it's like no one there to help keep you all in it. And the fact that they were able to pray over us, they didn't know what we were going through, and we were able to pray over another couple, and it was just like that idea of being around other married couples allowed us an opportunity to see what we wouldn't want to miss out on as we continue to grow. I feel like I've grown with him. Of course, since high school, but the idea that we have been growing together, I think I look forward to what our growth will look like in the forthcoming years. So I would definitely say hanging out with other married couples gave us some aspirations. Not more so comparing our relationships to others, but more so just knowing that we're not in this fight alone. And if other people can have, testimonies is everything. So a lot of these couples that we've met with, they were going through things that may have not been considered as bad as what we were going through, and the fact that they stayed the course and persevered, it just gave us a little bit more hope in our quest to like just to be there for one another. And now I'm not knocking like our friendships that's outside of marriage, that they're like single friends. I think that a lot of my friends I come in contact with, they always tell us like we're like the idol couple, and I look at him like I don't know how they figured that, but it's just I think it's just knowing us being able to grow in God together, and us going through that journey together, and that's like I said, that's how I realized it was just his faith and his motivation, and his passion for God, and that's just like where I'm at. So it was just like, I don't want to be a upset to God. Like, no, I just don't want to do that. And I know he said that he looks at divorce as a side eye or whatever, and I'm like, we don't want to go down that path. So what can we do to strengthen it? So praying together, praying for each other, seeking advice from people who have our best interests at heart.
Okay.
And not so like, this is where like family comes in, and it could be an up or down, but just really having the support.
Okay.
For us to sustain our relationship, I think is really how we are able to keep it moving and keep pushing,
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, I know you mentioned, even some of your single friends who they look to you all, as the ideal couple. And I wanted to ask you, what are some pearls of wisdom, that you can share, particularly to a single woman who desires to be married one day?
What's that saying? Don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing or something. Like, it's more so like, as you're building your relationship, allowing other people to have a say in that relationship, really their interest is you. Mm-hmm. So what I had to learn was that when I go and I'm upset about something that goes on with me and Richard, and I'm upset. So they're going to be just as upset. My family is going to be just as upset as I am when I bring it to their attention. Now, once I patch it up and we get it back together, we pray through this storm, everybody is not going to probably feel the same way that you do. Mm-hmm. So I would definitely say consult God first.
All right.
Before going to outside friends and family, because their best interest is always going to be you. When I complain about something, they didn't think about what I did. Because ultimately, when you vent or when you're frustrated, you're going to talk about nothing but the bad things. Okay. And that's all that they're going to be left with, versus the good things, that's for the reasons for why you might have stayed. So I say consult God first, and if it wasn't for the other couples, like telling us, like, you all prayed together. I'm like, yeah, I pray when I wake up in the morning, and he was like, I pray when I get in my work van, and we start, but once we start praying together, it let our girls see that, okay, they might have been arguing, but something is right. We just need to come to prayer. And once we pray together, once we allow the girls to pray, we start hearing. That's where the communication piece came in from, too. It was like we start hearing each other's prayer. Mm. So we start realizing, he knew if we weren't as big as communication, through prayer, he heard what I needed. Through prayer, I heard what he needed. Through prayer, I heard what my girls were faced with at school or whatever they were dealing with. Through prayer, I heard what they were decreeing over their lives through their prayer. So I would definitely say that you have to speak to God first. If anything I can say about staying in a long-lasting marriage, and I'm only 7 years in, they told me this was like the mandated year. Once we completed this, we were going to be on and popping. So I'm like praying, October, hurry up and get here, okay? But I really do believe like prayer answers everything. And not to say, because I had to ask that myself, like, well, my girlfriends, I don't think they don't have my best interest at heart. I honestly think they do honestly try to look at both sides, but see, you got some people that do that and some people don't. And, you know, when you're talking, at the bottom line, when you're talking to people who might be envious or jealous of where you are in life, their advice is not going to be the advice they take for themselves. So learning who you've been to and learning at the end of the day, like I said, when you go to family, because I value my family. I value what their opinion at times. But I had to learn I had to learn that everybody don't have the same interest as I do.
Right.
So once I learned that, I knew that, hey, I can go to this girlfriend and she's going to tell me everything I wanted to know about me and what she thinks. But it's not like that's going to, because I think they do also say that when you let stuff in, you got to be careful of who you let into your ears, because their negativity can become a weight on you as well. Like you just, I know who to go to. So if I can't reach out to one of the ministers at my church that's in this covenant partners with us, I can reach out to one of my sisters just to let it out. And, you know, I feel like she has both our interests at heart. It's not, hey, you my friend the longest or whatever the case may be. It's just more so genuinely, I want to see you happy and I want to see him happy. So how can we do that? Like just sound advice versus, oh, you shouldn't do that, you know, and why you do that? You just gonna end up just like so-and-so. So I think that having the right people in your corner, knowing who's rooting for you and who's not, that makes a very big difference. Okay. But prayer answers everything.
Right. And I wanted to ask you this kind of follow up with that. You know, me at one point in time, I looked to marriage as it was an idol for me. Where I felt like I needed to be married by this particular time. You know, you kind of have the whole society, how they tell you things should be done. And I would say in recent years have become okay with even being single, you know, and not really, I know I desire to be married, you know, one day, but not where I'm living my life to become the next thing. So it's kind of like not even enjoying the moment right now. And I wanted you to speak to a woman like that, even as speaking to me, to say this in this moment right now, Latasha, this is what you can do right now.
Okay.
To not be anxious, because I do know sometimes you can get to that. You know, you see the different things around, and I know you have to embrace embrace your singleness. And so speak to a woman. I know for me, like I said, I have come to appreciate that more. But I wanted you, you know, as a woman who, you know, is married, and even though you were in a relationship early on, you still, like you said, you've learned a lot about yourself through the years, you know. And what can you say to a woman who she may be anxious right now, but she's right now in her singleness?
Well, you know what? I would just say take your time.
Okay.
The anxiousness and the giddiness and the whole idea, that's what we have to first remember, the difference between guys and women and girls in the first place. You know, with us, it's like we already envision what our wedding will look like, this perfect guy, and just all these good attributes that we envision for marriage. And not having that moment to yourself where you're able to know what she brings to the table.
Right. Yeah.
Can be rushed. Because ultimately what I have learned is that sometimes Richard feeds off of me. And that's why they said they made us from his whim, was because you know, we know what we're supposed to do, but we also have those temptations as well. So it's like, you know, not knowing what you bring to the table, not knowing what you have to offer, can rush you to the point where it can. Now that anxiousness, you was like, oh, we getting married, and now you're married, and then you really don't know all the things that you probably should have known prior to getting married. And it's all unhashed, and you wouldn't have known. You would have probably been able to deal with that had you not rushed for marriage.
Right.
And you all came to terms with it versus going through marriage, finding out new things, and wondering, well, this wasn't said before we got married. So now this is like ground for us to get a divorce, and it's just like that's where that's what I mean by not rushing it. Take your time.
Right.
What I do know personally is what I thought about when I was 20. So what I'm thinking about now, I'm like so glad that our goals are aligned in that together.
Okay.
Versus these are my goals and these are his goals. You know, he might have his own personal goals that I'm aware of. He knows my personal goals. But as far as our goals as a unit, like we are on the same page with that.
That's good.
So that took time. That didn't just happen overnight. So that's what I mean by rushing.
Okay. That's
Take your
good.
time, get to know one another, and fully be comfortable with your attributes. Like when I feel like, okay, I know he might not be able to do this, I know that I can step up and do it with no problem because I'm already knowing that he's not going to be able to do it versus me expecting him to do it because that's what being the man, the head of the household is supposed to do. Like you're supposed to provide, and it comes a time where you have to be real with yourself to know that kind are these expectations even doable? Are they realistic? And that's kind of like what I mean by that. But I definitely will say to take your time because it's like glorified as young girls. It's like marriage is glorified. You're supposed to get married before you have babies, and then I'm like, they didn't consider the fact that the cost of living went up or something, or I mean, like when they would talk about getting married, I'm like, the glass ceiling is somewhat broken now. Like what can we, like, the times has changed.
Okay.
So the idea of marriage should change in order for it to be more attainable in our community.
Okay.
Because realistically, yes, we want the man to hold his own. We want them to be the providers and our protectors. And I don't feel like that aspect should change. Like you should marry somebody who you feel safe with. Anything could happen. That times have changed. Mm-hmm. But I also don't think that it's realistic to idolize or really want someone who is well off over you. So I couldn't. For me, I let me explain that too. I couldn't say, hey, I need this house built up from the ground. It's $100,000, but I only have 25.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so now I'm depending on him to come up with this other $975,000, but he's working just like I'm working. So it's not realistic.
Okay.
That's what
So you're saying basically have attainable goals. Like, I mean, and that's where you, like you're saying, kind of come in on one accord where y'all line up together, because it doesn't have to be $100,000 home. Maybe it could be another home until you are in a place where you can do that,
So being realistic with yourself, and that's what I mean by knowing what you bring to the table.
Yeah, that's good.
What they bring to the table, and how are you all going to be able to move as a unit? Because there's no more I. It's always we. And it's like, how are you moving as a unit? And sometimes I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can. Sometimes people can't move away from the I. It's always I. So when you go into this relationship thinking well, I did this and I did that, it's like, okay, so what was the purpose of being in a relationship?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. No, that's good. Well, that works for me. You dropped a lot of gems right there. Okay. Look, thank you. And we're gonna segue into the education topic. And yeah, as long as I can remember, I definitely know that you have a love, and you mentioned it before, just of helping people and educating our young people. And I wanted to know, Shani, where did that passion come from?
I would say seeing both my grandmothers. I know grandma, that's what I call her. Grandma Pearl, Grandma Flora,
Pearl, right.
my paternal mother was grandma, my maternal mother was granny.
Okay.
So seeing both of them, always willing to help. And I think I grew up just watching how grandma, she would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. She got a house load of us, because it's all of us. Ages range from birth to 18.
Right?
We all in this house for the summertime together. And just seeing how she got us up in the morning. She got our church clothes ready. We was ready to get on the bus. We had to walk to the bus stop with her. But it's like it's this little lady with about 15 kids getting on this bus early in the morning just to go to the church. And going to the church, I seen grandma help. It was like grandma had like a number of hats. She was like in the choir. She was the pastor assistant. I thought she was like the maintenance person too. How early she was having to get into church. But it was just like she opened, and I really saw her help in the church.
Yeah.
Now, my granny, it was always helping as far as like when people are sick, they call it sick and shut in. So I think my passion, I knew I always wanted to help. No matter what the case may have been, I can remember like just helping out, helping clean up after a party, helping put things together. And a lot of the things that I do at the church, I feel like I got that from my grandmother, because they both worked in the church. They helped in the church. So it was just destined for me to go and be a part of a ministry in my church. But I feel like just the love of helping people and not even needing the satisfaction of, being rewarded. Like the biggest reward that I can foresee my grandmother receiving at that time was not even a thank you, not even a card, just her knowing that you smiled.
Yeah.
I think that was like the biggest thing. Like just knowing that whatever she could do, she did. And she did that out of the love of Christ. And knowing that, that was her biggest reward. So I feel like that's where my passion to help others stem from. And going back even outside of grandma, like with my granny, like I remember like when she got really, really sick and I was in high school, I had so many things to do and really not nothing. I'm only in high school, but it was the idea that she's sick. My mom was working, my aunts and uncles, they were working, and they were all stressed on who was going to help out with granny. And I just told them I'll do it, and I lived with my grandmother because of that. And I had to help do things that the nurse would show me how to do different things to help take care of her. And I think that really like molded me to know that this is what you want to do. It might not be in the nursing field. I was contemplating that at first, but I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And once I realized my passion was to teach, I realized I did get that from Grandma, because Grandma, she stayed with a Bible in her hand.
Yeah.
Early in the morning, she had her Bible, her study Bible, those daily news, and she just studied the Word. And I realized that she was teaching us that too. And that's why I feel like our family is a compassionate group of people. We do always tend to want to help, and sometimes our helping can go unnoticed or can be abused. But we don't need the publicized acknowledgement in order for us to be fulfilled. Our fulfillment is just knowing that you're smiling.
Yeah.
That, you're better off because of my help, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And I had to really learn that too, because you know how sometimes you can give and give, and just like you said, sometimes you may feel like it may be taken for granted. But recently I just remember praying about it, and I remember the Holy Spirit revealing to me that I was a conduit. And basically how whoever that I come in contact with, like my objective is to make sure that I leave them better than I found them, or than we were introduced to each other. And so I just know that instead of feeling used, I remember how Grandma, like, she gave and gave, like, continuously up until she passed, but being a giver, like, that's always is better, And you just
that it's better to give than receive.
Right.
And it really is. I think I find more rewards giving than ever receiving anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and you just have to know boundaries, but so you'll know if something's not right, but then what you do is just you bow out gracefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with situations. And so that's what I've just come to. I give, what I believe I'm led to do. And then, when the season is up or the times have changed, then you just bow out, and you don't, like you said, you don't have to feel like, even if it may seem like you're being used, that you're just like, I'm going to give, because that's what I've been purposed to do.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's awesome. Well, definitely wanted to thank you for that, and we're going to move into our segment called Mother-Daughter Bonds, and it's a series of questions where the whole point of it is definitely to encourage more conversations among mothers and daughters, and we believe it's also a good way for the audience to get to know our guest even more. So, are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Well, the first question is, what has your mother taught you about yourself?
My mother has taught me how to hold on during trying situations. I think that her strength during what I would consider as like trials, tribulations, I think her strength and her determination to just press forward has always been something that I idolized growing up. And I think that the idea of being a hard worker I've seen through her.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that, you have to work hard for what you truly want, but just knowing that she's able to do it, she might be in pain, but she's going to get through it and just finish the race. So I feel like her determination and her perseverance during hard times really became like a strength of mine.
Okay. And the next question is, how has your relationship with your daughters shaped you to become the mother that you are?
Oh, my relationship. I have I sometimes, that idea of being friends with your children.
Mm-hmm.
I don't shy away from that.
Okay.
Because I do, like, if I was her, like, let's just put Jamira, if I was her age, I would have loved that relationship with my mother.
Okay.
Knowing that I could come to my mom, she's going to give me sound advice, but I could bring anything to her and not feel like, okay, this is a burden, or not feel like, just as a child, being innocent with the questions, I think that I earned for that growing up with my mother. To the point where with my daughter, like, I'm kind of like open to the conversations that she has with me, but I'm able to regulate whether, I'm a friend in her eyes, I'm a friend listening versus a mother listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm able to use that to have those mother-daughter moments with her. So I kind of like pride myself with that, like just being able to listen to her. And to the point where at sometimes it's like, I don't want to listen. I want to be your mama right now.
Right.
But I'm able to, right, I'm able to like just take it in. So then the advice that I give her, she takes with her. And I think that's what's important. I think that it's not anything wrong with being a friend with your children. But I think it's everything wrong with being a friend with your children, condoning situations that you wouldn't condone yourself.
Okay.
So I think that's where, like, I don't think it's nothing wrong with being a friend with your children. But I also think that it comes with knowing when to parent.
Okay.
Versus when to be a friend.
All right. That's good.
Because I think she finds that more authentic. That's why I feel like she's able to come to me. She knows exactly what to do. She could come to me when it's a girl thing, and when she comes to me with different things that, like the bullying stuff, she goes to her dad. Because, see, I'm going to give her, how to tell these people off using the words of God. Yes. And Daddy not going to do that.
Yeah, she need to go to Daddy on that.
Right. So she knows, and it's just like, I'm glad that we both are at a point, like when they get out of school, I had to ride home one day, and Richard picked up, and I was just a passenger. And just hearing, like, the conversation they had about school, like, she'll go in depth. Now, when I get ready to pick up how was school, it's like a one-word thing.
Wow.
But when she's in the car with her dad, it's like she's telling it from when she got out the car to when she got back in the car. And see, I don't get that.
Wow. But that's powerful, though. Wow.
Absolutely. So I feel like, my biggest thing was not her getting the wrong advice, especially from some of the situations that she has to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
In school. Like when it's girly stuff, she'll come to me. When it's dealing with boys, she'll come to me. But when it's like, just like the all around round of the day, that's Daddy.
Wow.
That's
good.
I'm grateful that we do kind of like, bounce things off of each other. Now, I'll take in what she tells me, but then I'll have to go to Daddy to let him know, this is what she was talking about when, so-and-so, such and such happened. And that gives him more perspective on whatever they talked about. When she comes to him to talk, he'll tell me. So it's like we kind of like know how to deal with it with her. And I feel like that's the best. That's what a best friend would do, and I I wouldn't give that up for nothing in the world. I'm a friend of my daughter's. My daughter will say I'm her best friend, but I'm also her mom too. So I have her best interest at heart to know that I'm not gonna party with her, but I will be able to get what I need in order to parent.
It's good. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, what book most influenced you?
The Bible, no. I haven't read
You can say
all the scriptures in that Bible. But Too Heavy a Load.
Okay.
Too Heavy a Load was a book about it was by Deborah Wyatt.
You said Deborah Wyatt?
It was like it really was like a story of like just black women empowerment, black women dealing with chauvinistic views and opinions, and although we still fighting, you know, for women's rights and all that good stuff, it really like just helped me. It really helped me to come to terms with me becoming a woman. I read that early on in college. I was in my 20s, so I was just like learning about myself, and that gave me like a connection to black women from present day to the past, and I really felt like empowered by that book.
Wow.
To even with thinking about like, you know, how a nation can't rise if their women aren't, and how, you know, like just how the black family was tarnished throughout the course of fighting for women's rights, and it really was just a really good read that I kind of like keep it next to me. Some books, you know, you get some books that you have to read for courses, and it's like, hey, as soon as I can sell this book back,
I'm trying to get it right. Okay.
That was one book that I kept because it really, most of the books that I read, I'm hoping that my daughters read as well when they get into that spark of reading for deep read. Another book of mine that was really close to me was that Asada Shakur book.
Okay.
And just, so both of these books, they was, I like geared towards the whole Black Panthers movement and just learning more about that. And at that time when I was reading those books, my mom used to, coming up, my mom always told me, like, you like just like an advocate, like a little Black Panther. And it was like, you know, we don't know what Black Panthers was when I was 10 years old, you know, but as I began to grow and as I began to look for different reads, that kind of like made me think about my mom when she told me that when I was 10. And I realized that it's really like the activism part of that book that I connected with. So, fighting for my students' rights. And, going into a school where I'm kind of like being the minority versus the majority. That was my college experience. And prior to my college experience, I always just been around all of my people. And just having that opportunity to be vulnerable and honestly look at, you know, the fight that, and I think Grandma was big on that too, like just being able to know where you come from and who you are and why you are important and knowing that you're beautiful and all that good stuff. I think those books help cultivate that into me as a young adult. So I really like those two books.
Perfect. What keeps you grounded?
My kids.
Okay.
Actually, both of them. Like, just knowing that I can see a smile on their face. I might be having a bad day, and they'll come in and try to cheer me up. Just knowing that everything I do, I have little ones watching me, trying to become me.
Right.
And that is like reward. That's like the most rewarding feeling I can't even put a word to it. So I know that I might have wanted to do wrong, but in the back of my mind, I got two little ones that's looking at me to make all the right decisions, no wrong decisions. And even if I make a wrong decision, they wouldn't know the difference between it. But just knowing that it's somebody other than myself that I have to lead, in a sense.
Okay. Well, what are 3 qualities that got you where you are today?
I think me being a giving person. I believe being optimistic.
Okay.
And being hardworking. I'm not gonna say driven,
Okay.
but I will say hardworking. Just knowing that, because I'm a procrastinator, so I can't say driven. Don't be a procrastinator. That's something I can definitely advocate for. Because I just was watching a little clip, and they were like, you have to, and driven, nothing, the person on the inside of you, person on the outside will say you can't do it, but the person on the inside of you will say you can do it, so you driven. And I'm like, the person on the inside and the outside of me tell me, no, just
don't do it, right? Say, no, we're not doing it. We're not doing it.
Right. So I'm not going to, a lot of people will tell me I'm a very driven person when I put my mind to it. So I can't say that, but I think hard work and being able to know that I have to work hard for what I want to attain in life.
Okay.
Is how I got here so far. Okay. Nothing was given to me. Mm-hmm. I've always had to work hard. And I'm not even going to say twice as hard as my white counterparts, because I feel like I've gotten a lot of things from them in this field as well. Just knowing that I had to work for it. I couldn't just wake up and say, hey, Mom, I had to do it on my own. So hard working is definitely how I got here. Being optimistic, I feel like I'm a very positive person, and I don't like negativity around me. And once it is around me, I kind of like step back to reevaluate myself, because I put myself in that position or that predicament, and I evaluate myself as far as like, okay, you made that decision to put yourself there. Now, how did that happen?
Wow, that's good.
As far as my pastor said it to us one Sunday, complainers complain, builders build, but complainers cannot build. And that kind of like stuck with me, and I was like, okay, that's probably why I'm so as optimistic as I am, because I hate is a strong word, so I dislike being around complainers. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to find a solution. Yeah. So that's what I mean by being optimistic. Like, just knowing that everything that you do is not going to be all perfect, and being able to accept imperfection is what makes perfection. And knowing that, you can find a positive. If you can find one positive, you own to something. So I've always had a positive outlook at life versus negative, and I think that's why I'm where I'm at today, because I'm very optimistic. I'm very open to change. I feel like sometimes the things that I do or say it is valued,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what makes me as optimistic as I am.
Right. Well, that works. I mean, hardworking, optimistic, and a giver. Those are great qualities to have.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And what question do you wish more people asked you?
What's the question?
Oh, what question do you wish more people would ask you?
What's the question?
Oh, you were saying what's the question? I thought you were asking, like, what's the question? I
um,
was like, what question? No.
oh, I don't know, because I asked a lot of questions,
I'm
and that's
talking
so
about what
funny.
they asked you, though.
I know, and I'm like, that's crazy, because I don't know, like, I guess, do you know that you are a child of a king?
All right.
Yeah, I think, and that's so funny, because Grandma used to tell me all the time, girl, stop asking so many questions, and I was like, Grandma, do you know, I was talking to myself a couple of days ago, like, Grandma, if it wasn't for all these questions I asked, I don't think I would be here where I'm at today, okay?
Right.
But she so used to fuss at me, like, you ask so many questions, and I'm like, you're supposed to be inquisitive, you gotta ask questions. But I guess, like, I think the question I always get is, how do I do it with being, especially in education, with being a parent?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I will turn that around. How do you not do it? With being, I will turn that question around, because I feel like our kids are so at a disadvantage. I'm like, I can only raise the ones that's in my household, but when I come across so many kids that have so many disadvantages, and it's just like the family dynamic is not like that of my own. That would be my question. How do you not do it? Because I always get asked, how do you do it? How do you teach being a mom and a wife, and it's so early? And it's just like, I'm thinking to myself, how do you not do it? You know?
Yeah.
So I think that would be my question. How do you not do the things that you do?
All right. And what is something that every woman should try once in her lifetime? What do you think that should be?
Every woman should try once in her lifetime. I think we are talkers, so I think listening.
Okay. Love it.
Just listen. Wholly. Like, listen with no response. Just fully listening.
Wow. Okay.
It's gonna be hard, trust me. Watch and see.
I think I'm really gonna try that for real. I don't know how it's gonna work, but I've said that before a lot of times, and I mean, but I've got better. I believe with listening as I've matured. But Lord Jesus, I like to talk too. So oh well. What superpower would you like to have?
Superpower. That's funny, because I'm not gonna get into all that. But I think me knowing head on, like just having the power of knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like to know everything. That's even with my job. I like to know what's the good strategies to use, what's the bad strategies. Like, just knowing. I feel like having the power to know everything will help make better decisions. In a sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What would you say to a woman with a broken heart?
There's always better days to seek God first. To know that as long as you have faith as a mustard seed, there will be better days. So, seek Him in all that you do.
Okay. And the last one for this segment is, what's the most important lesson you've learned in the last year?
Not to take work personal.
Okay.
With me being a teacher, like, I feel like I'm doing everything right, and when getting feedback, even with feeling like, you're doing everything right and getting feedback, and if it's not, and I had to pray over that too, because it's like, okay, I'm open for constructive feedback because that's what's going to make me a better person, a better teacher, it's just overall going to be better for my students to experience. So, but I had to remove my emotions and honestly not take things personal in order for me to grow.
Right.
Yeah, so I want to say like the situation that caused that, but without even addressing that, just knowing that everything is not personable, and with me being a very emotional person, I can tend to make things very personable.
Okay.
But knowing that, and I think the kids say it today, like, you all up in your feelings,
Uh-huh.
And I think that once we are able to remove that emotion, we'll be able to fully receive what's best for us.
Okay. That's good. That's good. All right. We're going to segue into community service. And I know you mentioned one of the ways definitely that you're giving back, but if you have other ways that you like to share, how you're giving back to the community, if you would share that with our audience right now.
Well, outside of the ministry that I did speak about prior, the Young Sisters for Christ and the Girl Scouts, I tend to reach out to like past students of mine, just as a checkup.
Wow.
To the point that, and when I think I've been, oh my God, I've been in this field for almost close to 15 years.
Cool.
That
Congratulations.
was through mentoring. Then after mentoring, I was tutoring. Then after tutoring, I became a preschool teacher. So for me, I feel like just being able to check in on my students previous, from whether it be my daycare kids that I've had that's now like in 7th grade, whether it be my students that I tutored or mentored to coming back home from undergrad. I tend to do a reach out to them, and Facebook allows us to like just really connect with any and everybody we want to. And at one point, once I did transition from a daycare teacher to the daycare director, it became more important for me to keep up with my students because at that time I thought I would go into getting a doctorate, and I just wanted to like just have some student success stories a part of that. And then it became more personable once one of my students reached out to me, and this was like one of the little boys who would come down. Now at that point I was the daycare director.
Okay.
So it was like I had to be the firm one. I couldn't be like, very sympathetic. I had to like have some type of firmness to myself, and like the kids if they was coming down to see Miss Scott, they didn't want to come down to see Miss Scott. And to the point where I was like, okay, I don't want to scare them off, but what I realized is that with this one little boy, he was just like, Miss Scott, you can't let them close the daycare, because this meant a lot to me. And he's in 7th grade now. And what really inspired me by him was the fact that, he already had everything set up against him, even in the daycare set. It was like his family was like kind of like off balance. I stepped in to help his mom fight an addiction. I stepped in to help her find a job, get enrolled in school, and just hearing their success stories and like just hearing like them coming back to me, and a lot of them like had to befriended me on Facebook, and that's what I meant by Facebook. When I was talking about Facebook, just like, at first I was skeptical. I don't want my students to see me because, I don't know. I don't want them. I'm always talking about how, kids, don't call my kids bad unless they blessed and delivered. And, I might have been out partying with one of my girlfriends, and now they going to run with that, because I just didn't want them to see me as me. And then I had to realize, well, I prefer them to see me as me, so then they'll have a connection with me. But, and I prefer to accept their requests. So when I do see their posts, I can help guide them. If I see when they up and they talking how they up, and I shoot them a message like how proud I am. And that one little boy was like, Miss Scott, if you had not, if you didn't give me a hug every day, I wouldn't have felt loved. Or if just knowing that I had impact, it helped make better decisions. And my words of wisdom to them help them become better individuals and better students, and knowing that, Miss Scott, you told me not to tear that book up, and now I got to read this big old book, but now I love reading. Just hearing that, really helps. That's really like like something in the community, but out of the community. I really love just being able to give back to my previous students, knowing that they might have needed an encouragement word, or they might have needed somebody to hold their hand or something. Like when they reach out to me, I'm like motivated. I've been invited to christenings, I've been invited to birthday parties, and I might make them and I might not, but then they connected with the girls. So just knowing that I'm able to be an impact in that way, I think that that's like my biggest, just being able to help the students that I have come across with, and that's like my give back. So my Facebook is like a give back to the community. When they reach out, that's how they able to reach out to me. My number don't change. And now, like my new students, they call me, or a couple of years back, students, they got my cell phone number. Like they reach out to Jamira. Like, so I feel like my social media is a way for me to counteract negative and help turn them into positive.
That's beautiful. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we're going to move into our faith segment, and this actually is an opportunity for you to share a time when your faith was tested and how you came through it. And we just believe that this will be a blessing to someone in the same way, you just shared about being able to reach back and touch lives and sharing about your faith. I believe that someone needs to hear that today.
Okay. Well, I think, granted, like that, this will probably be a better situation to talk about then, so I won't get all emotional. But the graduating from grad school,
okay.
I think I had it all mapped out. I would graduate, I would go right into the field of working in the schools. I was challenged with the daycare. Not that I didn't feel like I was at that anymore, but more so like, I went to school to teach in the elementary setting, and now that I'm at graduation or approaching graduation, I just want to get into that field. And I think that at that time I was not prepared to be a mother again. Like I thought me and Jamira was gonna be Bonnie and Clyde daughter versions, and it was just gonna be us against the world, and then especially after the doctors kept saying, you're not going to be able to have any more kids, and I was just already content with knowing that at least I had Jamira. And I had all these aspirations. I was, after having Jamira, it kind of like made me, that's why I think my kids are they ground me, because I was able to just focus a little bit more on my studies. And not more so on things that you would do as a young adult, partying and hanging out and all that good stuff. So at any rate, I was hit with the fact that I was going to be a mother during my student teaching moment. And with student teaching, you could not work full time. They really didn't recommend you work at all. And I was grateful that I had the daycare really like valued me to the point where it was like, we'll do whatever you need us to do. Needless to say, I was going into my student teaching. I had just found out it's the first month into my student teaching, I was not prepared to be a mother again, and I found out I was pregnant. It was just like a life-changing situation for me, because I had already networked to the point where I would have had a position lined up. I graduated in May, so I had a position lined up for me in August when school started. I was just ready. And to find out that I was pregnant kind of like put a hold on that dream of mine, because I wasn't due until September. So it was like, for me, I'm like, this is a life-changing moment. I got to make a decision, because it's like this school wants me to come. Come August, school doesn't start officially for the students until the 4th. Malia is supposed to be due the 29th, and she came she was due October 4th or something, and it was just like, oh wow, I'm gonna be at school for a month and then go on a maternity leave. I might be at risk. They might not want to hire me anymore. I was just going through it, and my job at the time, they had told me, like, we'll work with you. They were really understanding, to the point that when I did make the decision to leave them, I was like really not prepared to let them know, because they did get me through my student teaching. And after student teaching in May, I graduated. I was stressed out, because now I'm like, I wanted to start in the school, but I didn't want to take that chance, because I didn't want to have to go on maternity leave and then leave the students and then come back. Like, it was just like, for a first year teacher, who's going to deal with that? And at that moment, it was just like, oh wow, I graduated for nothing, because now I'm still here at this daycare, and it's just, the time is going by. After I had Malia, went back to work at the daycare, and it was just like I had stopped looking. And one day, my mentor teacher had reached out to me in February, and was telling me to go ahead and apply for some of the positions that was opening up at the school that our students taught at. And this was like just the school of my dreams. Like, I felt like I did most of my field work at this school. I did my student teaching at the school. So just knowing like the school dynamic, just as a first year teacher, you want to know everything about the school, the students, the parents. And I felt like I had that already in place. So at any rate, I had went on ahead and applied. I got a call back I wasn't expecting. Got a call back resigned from my job, the daycare, and was really excited about starting at the school. And I just felt like everything was coming in place for me because not only was this a school I was comfortable at, but then, you know, as far as my church is concerned, it was a school in their network. And my bishop at the time, he had really put in a lot of things at this particular school. So I just really felt like my work is going to tie into my spiritual relationship with my church. And I just felt like it was just I glorified it, like this is perfect and everything, and I was so excited. And then I had got a call after resigning from the job and all that good stuff. I got a call from them saying that they couldn't find my paperwork, and I was due to start in like a week. And they were saying that my paperwork wasn't coming through, that they had to offer the position to somebody else. Oh, and at that time, I was just going crazy. I was like, God, how could you do this to me? You know, I was like I was already like glorifying the fact that I was going to be right up the street from the church so I could go back into the church and do my volunteer after work. And I was just like, at a moment, like, how did that happen to me? You know, and I felt like I was doing everything right. I already wasn't expecting to be a new mom again, and it was just like, okay, what are you doing? Like, what happened? Like, how did this happen? Like, why didn't you tell me, you know? And so not only did I resign from my job, I was under the impression I was starting this new job, and all that during that whole time, I'm reaching out, trying to get work to get them my stuff. And it was just like, you know, we offered it to somebody else. So at that time, I did a lot of questioning. I was just like, you know, at first I had this lined up, and then, you know, you hit me with being a mom again. And then, you know, I had other different things going on financial-wise. So I'm like, now I'm resigned from my job where I could at least been able to bring in income. I was able, so at that time I was just really questioning, like, God, what are you doing? Like, what should I do? Like, you know, what's my next move? And at that time I was questioning whether or not I should even teach. I went to go take several tests for the state because I did graduate undergrad with my poli-sci degree. And so I figured, like, let me just go into the public sector and do something in there. I was just really struggling with me realizing that teaching might not have been for me. And it really just caught me off guard to the point where, like, I didn't believe. I was like, okay, well, you know, I know they say trust God, but I'm like, I don't know how he could have done this to me, you know, and how can I pray and ask for guidance when it was like I've already prayed for this and I thought you was granting this to me, and now it's just being stripped away, and now I got to figure out how I'm going to take care of not only one daughter, but now two, and how it was just very challenging time at that time because I just could not believe I had gave up my job to take on this new job. Although it wasn't a permanent position, it was my foot in the door for a permanent position come the new school year. And I was just like, okay, something's not right. Something has to give. And I was just praying. And, you know, I'm like, I need my answers now. You know, what I'm going to do until the school starts. So I was going to interviews and I wasn't getting hired. And I was just like, you know, what you have for me? Because at that time, at that point, I wasn't even believing anymore. I'm like, you know, I prayed to God that he gave me this, he granted it, and now I don't have it. And it took my daughter, my oldest, to, you know, she was just like, Mommy, you'll get it, you know, you know, she had more faith than I did. And I was torn by that because I'm like, how can she? I'm over here modeling to her what, you know, when you get through trying time, when you get to a trying situation, you go to him and pray about it. And I don't want to tell her, no, we can't pray because I prayed already. And look, this is where it got me. So I was just going through it, you know, trying to figure out how to balance that. And what eventually ended up happening, out of countless nights of praying, because at this point I'm exhausting funds, I reached out to one I saw on Facebook it was a teacher position, but it was in the arts. And see, I didn't want to go to a Catholic school because of my faith. My faith was like, no, I believe in God. I don't know if I want to do some Hail Marys, whatever the case may be. And I reached out to one of the a childhood friend of mine who kind of like watched me grow up, and she was a principal at a Catholic school. All her positions were already full, so she was just like, put your application in on the website, you know, and I look out for a word for third grade because I didn't want any other position either. I only wanted to teach third grade. And it was like, how you going to demand different things? And it seemed like you should settle. And God was speaking to me like, you know, you complaining to me about getting you away from this situation, because that could have been a trying situation. You told me you wanted to teach third grade, but then you were going to take this kindergarten position, and now once I took that kindergarten position away from you, now you questioning me, and, you know, I'm your God. You supposed to trust in me. And it just started, you know, my faith just started building back up again, like, okay, God, you got something else in store for me. I feel it, but I don't, because it's like I'm at my last dime. And I ended up that year, coming across a settlement that was over a cell phone company or whatever the case may have been. It was able to pay my rent for 2 months.
Wow.
And after that, I got the offer from the archdiocese that it was going to be a 3rd and 4th grade split class, but I had the position. I went for the interview before my husband's birthday. We went out of town for his birthday, and it was just like, you know, before we left for that, and he was like, let's just get away. You know, you just need a moment to, like, recompose yourself. My husband had more faith than I did, and I was just not believing. But when I tell you that the day we left, the day before we left, I went to an interview at this school. The day I left, I got a call from that school asking me to come back in that Tuesday, which I did, and I started right then and there. Wow. And I was just forever grateful.
Wow.
So if any words of encouragement is stay the course. Never let your faith be tested, because, you know, when you pray for things, they say you be careful what you pray for, because you never know, he might just give you what you want. And at that time, as I was questioning that school, because I was just like idolized this particular school, and it was a CPS school. They make a little bit more money than the archdiocese do, but for me, it wasn't about the money. It was just, this is my passion.
Wow.
I was able to, that whole summer, because I resigned from my job in March. I was due to start the new position that first week of April. They had spring break, and so the first week of April, I was due to start. I resigned in March. April, when I was going in for the start date, I was told I wasn't even qualified for it no more because they couldn't find the paperwork. That whole April, I was just like a nervous wreck. May, I was able to get in connection with the childhood friend who was the principal. June and July, I was going through, by the end of May, I was like, what am I going to do? I've done exhausted funds. The daycare want me to come work part-time, and, I don't want to tell them I want my job back because it's like, they went out on the limb for me doing student teaching. I didn't want to seem ungrateful, but they knew that I was looking forward to teach, and they had threw me a big old party and everything. I couldn't go back to them, and if it wasn't for me praying, like, how am I going to do this for the next 2 months? Now, I done made it through April. I made it through May, but now I got June and July here. The kids going on, Jemima was going on vacation, summer break. How am I going to allow her a little bit of summer fun? And it was just blessings on top of blessings. I got a stipend for her to do summer camp that year. And I was able to get that little, that settlement. To this day, I can't even tell you where I got that from, but it paid the June and July's rent. August came around, I'm like, how am I afford it? And I got the job. So it's just really like, just keep your faith in him because he knows better than you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have did so many different things trying to get money, and to the point where it was just like I did lose my faith in him for a minute. And if it wasn't for the girls and for my husband, like just really like keeping me uplifted during that time, I don't know if I would have made it through because I felt like I was making the decisions based off of what I wanted, not realizing that I'm trying to make sure I follow his will as well.
Right.
So it was a challenging time for me, but he made a way during that challenging time to the point where I was just like, okay, you told me to sit down, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to be still, and I'm just going to pray about it.
Right.
And I used that, and it really did make my situation a better one. And I was grateful for that. So grateful that all I had to do, my faith was definitely challenged during that time. A new mom, Malia was like every bit of almost 9 months, 8 months, and it was, I was like thinking I was making a decision to better our family, and I ended up hurting it. And I just was really going through like the decisions that I was making, and was I making hasty decisions? Who comes in to the school year in the middle of the school year, and it was just a very trying time for me. It really did challenge my faith because I was not believing anymore, and he let me know who he really was in my life.
Yeah.
He let me know he was God, and that whatever challenges he brought my way, this was just a test for me to get through it, so it could be a testimony to help better other people. And that's what I realized. That's when I started realizing what testimonies truly was. It wasn't like growing up, I'm like, oh, she up here hooting and hollering,
Mm-hmm.
But when you really hit with it on yourself, it becomes a moment where it's like, okay, how many other people can I bless with this story to help them see a brighter day?
Yeah.
And that's what really grounded my faith and my walk with him. Like it just opened it up. I was praying incessantly.
Right.
After the call back, going into it, it was just a life-changing moment for me. And to the point where when I did leave that job, I was really sad about me making that decision. But I sought God first with the decision I made this year about moving from that job, because it was just like, you got me here. Now I'm here, and, I'm all about growth. And it really challenged my thinking, and it really made me realize how much God is really in control.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it definitely is a blessing, and it is a true testament of, your faith being tested and definitely coming out on the other side with a stronger faith. So thank you for that. And so we're going to move into, what were you going to say?
I said absolutely.
Oh, okay. No, we're going to move into the closing segment, and it's called Matters of the Heart Moment. And the first part is, if you had the opportunity to speak to your 4-year-old self or your younger self, what would you say to her?
To still be a kid.
Okay.
I think I had to, 4 years old. I mean, like I can remember going to preschool. I can remember all those little details about my toddler years, especially with reminiscing pictures and whatever. But I wouldn't want to change anything, but just even growing from 4, moving on up. And I had a younger sibling that I had to watch over.
Okay.
So I believe just staying a kid, enjoying being innocent, enjoy being young and full of energy and moving and doing and being creative and being curious. And I think that's what helped mold me to who I am today. With my 4-year-old now, I'm just thinking if I had advice to give to her, it was just be free.
Okay. All right. Well, what is the best, pearls of wisdom that you have ever received?
Trust in God, and He will direct your path.
All right. That works for me. Well, you have any last minute comments?
No, not really. I realized I done talked a lot.
It's okay. You said, I realized.
You said an hour, and it's almost 2 hours. I'm like, she got to do some editing for real. No.
A hot mess. No, we want to thank you so much, for being with us and you sharing a piece of you. So it's okay. It could be longer. So we appreciate you, though. Thank you, sis, for doing this.
You are so welcome.
Perfect. And our goal at the Flora Pearl Foundation is to always be a blessing to all of those that we come in contact with by operating with the spirit of excellence. We want to thank you all so much for listening today, and you can visit our website at www.florapearlfoundation.org. We look forward to spending time with you all each week, and we will talk to you soon.